So the thing that makes Project Cerberus different, in my opinion anyway, from other role-playing games, is my design focus. I am focused on verisimilitude. For anybody who's unfamiliar with that word, it essentially means bringing truth to things. It is about truth. And when I say that regarding this game, I'm not talking about realism. Realism is not what I'm going for. It is a fantasy RPG about elves and dwarves and magic, and realism isn't what I'm looking for. When I say truth, I mean true to the world, true to the universe, true to the stories being told. What I'm unhappy with a lot of times in other games, I'm going to use a video game here because I don't want to make anybody think I hate other RPGs or anything. I don't want to rag on other RPGs, so I'm going to use a video game focus on example here. But what I mean is there's plenty of video games. I'm sure everybody who plays video games has had this happen to them. The character they play falls off a ledge 3 feet, dies, because the game's not programmed for characters to fall off of ledges. That ledge was a bad thing. But then during a cutscene, the character gets knocked off a balcony, falls through a plate glass skylight, and lands on the floor underneath it, and is fine. Gets up, continues the game. And the gameplay, where you fall 3 feet and die, and the cutscenes, the story, are not telling the same thing. They're not equivalent there. RPGs have a similar problem. Well, not a problem. They have a similar focus. For most RPGs, the game is designed for rules, for play, for the people playing the game, not for the story. And the story is melded to it after the fact. My rules focus on what are we trying to accomplish in universe. What is it that what is the story being told by these actions, and how can the rules make that happen and make you feel like that is what is happening through play. A prime example, I have read, I can't remember how many fantasy novels. I've read thousands of fantasy novels in my life, and I can't remember how many of them have included a big character wearing heavy plate armor with a big weapon who is the enemy, who's fighting against the hero of the story, who is lightly armored, has small weapons, 2 daggers, something like that, and the whole crux of that scene, of that fight scene, is the big guy is big and slow, but the hero knows only one hit and he's done. Like that big guy hits him once and he's finished. So the little guy has to dodge and dash and move out of the way all the time, and constantly attack, because that heavy armor, those daggers aren't doing much. So, the guy needs 10, 15 attacks for every one the big guy gets. And most games don't have that. They try, they give you things, but usually, for various reasons, you end up with a character who can still wield really big weapons and just do so faster. And because it's a game for a lot of people, that is fine. In fact, that would be the way I would play it. That is the way I play it when I am interested in more game and less story. Another example would be you are on opposite sides of a banquet hall, a couple 100 feet long banquet hall from the enemy. The enemy is on the other side, and you're charging them with your great axe held up. You're going to attack them, and some guy stands up from behind a table that is overturned on the opposite side of the room with a bow and arrow, and he points that bow and arrow at you and is going to let fly the arrow. He's taking aim, and the character dives behind a table or something for cover, interrupting that charge across the room. In most tabletop RPG games, that's also not possible, because, to simplify the game, there are turns to make it easier for the players. There's everybody has their turn. They take their time. They move. They shoot. They do everything. So that scene would either play out as the hero gets halfway across the room, runs out of movement, his turn ends, the enemy goes, stands up, shoots an arrow, hits or misses the hero. The hero then has his turn and continues the charge across the room to the enemy. Or the hero gets all the way across the room on his first turn, attacks the enemy, and the enemy never jumps up with a bow to shoot him because he's right there, so the enemy takes out a sword instead. So you never get that story moment that is in plenty of novels. So my rules are going to be more complicated. They just, by the nature of what I'm trying to do, there are going to be more rules. They will be more complicated. It will not be super simple. This game isn't going to be for everybody, and that's fine. If you love the RPGs you're currently playing, I probably love them too. I love RPGs. I've played dozens of them in my 30-plus years playing RPGs. So if you love the RPGs you're currently playing, please keep loving them. I'm not telling you to stop. I'm not telling you they're wrong. I'm just trying to design a game that lets me live out those fantasy novels that got me into RPGs to begin with. I picked up a Forgotten Realms novel, Elf Shadow by Elaine Cunningham, in a used bookstore when I was 11 years old. And then I went back to that used bookstore looking for more books because I enjoyed that book so much. And I then saw the Dungeons & Dragons basic and expert books, the old red and blue, I believe they were the 1983 edition of the books. And I didn't know there was a game until I saw those books, and I got those books hoping that because Dungeons & Dragons was on both, that I would be able to live out what I read in that novel in a game. And for the most part, I can, but not as much as I would like to today. The rules get in my way. So I am designing the rules with verisimilitude in mind. The truth of the world needs to shine through in the rules. So I hope other people are as excited about this idea as I am, and as my friends are. I said I've been working in this game for 3 years, 2.5, 3 years, somewhere in that neighborhood. I've been playtesting with my friends in my home games, and they have loved it, and they've actually found that they are role-playing more. They are getting into the world more because the rules are... You don't have to stop and think, okay, I want to do this action, what rule is it that applies? It's, I want to do this action, this is obviously the rule that applies, how it applies, how it works with that action because of that verisimilitude. And so long as you're okay with a denser set of rules, more rules, I think this is going to be a game that you're going to like.